Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the Camera Los Angeles show in West Hollywood, and I'm here with Jason Silva with his movie Lonely Hearts Club. Let's take a look at the clip.
Whatever happened, don't worry about it, okay? You're here now. This is for a day. Promise not to be like this the whole time. Thank you. Buckle up.
Jason, welcome back.
Thank you, good to be back.
I'm so happy to have you here again.
Same couch.
Same couch, yeah, I know, really, right? Same place, same place and same couch. Thank you so much for your film. I thoroughly enjoyed your film. You made me laugh, you made me cry, and a whole lot more. But for those that haven't had a chance to see it, tell us a brief synopsis.
So, Lonely Hearts Club is a feature film that follows Jess, who has recently moved to Hawaii after college, moved in with her boyfriend, and they have been fighting enough to the point where he has now sent her back home with a one-way ticket. She's got a long layover overnight in Los Angeles, broken, totally upset and not wanting to be alone. She looks up one person that she knows who has now moved to LA, and they spend the evening and into the next day together, and it's about what happens.
You have to watch it to find out. Where did the inspiration come from, Jason?
So the general setup of the film was something that actually happened to a friend of ours. My wife, Annette, and also one of the producers on the film, went to school in UT Austin, and a bunch of them moved to Los Angeles, and one of their group of friends moved to Hawaii. And Annette and I met about a year later after her move here, and it was around this time that the friend got sent back. They got in a fight with her boyfriend, and he sent her back to Texas with a one-way ticket, and she had this layover in LA, and it was a really long layover, and she looked up some of the group of friends, and the details beyond that are very different from what's in the film, but that was sort of the impetus of it.
Well, listen, let's get real, because what I love that you did to me in this film is that you, and I still feel like we don't see enough this film. That's why I was so happy you made this film, because you just stopped me in my tracks. You know, I completely, I'm absolutely in love with like the Linklaters' earlier work and Before Sunset and After Sunrise, and you just made me just engrossed in these characters and their journey, and I want to keep watching to discover what's really going on and what's going on in their journey. And it was just beautiful. Like, I mean, as much as it was great and it was a very LA film, I was just completely in their journey, following them through these three brilliant actors that obviously we'll talk about that. Is that something you wanted to do to us as an audience, like just kind of just be embraced in this story and real people, real moments? It wasn't Hollywood, it was just like, we're here.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that was really personal to me that came out in the film is just the idea that, you know, most of us who are pursuing the industry aren't from Los Angeles, although some of us are, but you know, and the thing that I hadn't counted on, which became so important to my journey moving here, was finding your LA family.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're lucky and that happens right away, and sometimes it takes time to find that. And with this film, even it was about a particular story with these characters, it was really exploring, you know, what it's like when you have found that family in LA.
Yeah.
And so you have Jess, who isn't from here, is only kind of crashing here for the night, who is entering into this kind of tight-knit circle of these friends who have found that in each other. And I wanted to be a little bit of a love letter to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, Annette and I incorporated a lot of our own circle of friends, and there's a big party scene that was really important, and it's a party where people, because we're all artists, and, you know, friends who are artists would just come together at a house party essentially and share their art. And sometimes someone would put up a PowerPoint and say, this is a marketing campaign that I worked on. And some people would show a film, some people would perform or do stand-up comedy. And or interpretive dance. I mean, it was a very safe space where it wasn't judgy, and it was just to show that you're working on something with your friends.
I love that you just said that as well, being a safe space, because I feel like you put us all in a safe space. Like, oh, maybe it's okay to be a little bit weird after all, or maybe it's all right to be like this, and you just kind of made us feel that way as well. I certainly felt that with myself, and I'm sure others did as well. Now, getting into your cast, obviously centered around these, three amazing, actors. One of which is one of the greatest new filmmaker stories ever, which is that you met one of your amazingly talented lead actresses at a New Filmmakers event, and I bang on the table every single time. I said, listen, go and meet people because you will. And obviously that's one of the places of how you've discovered her, but tell us a bit more about discovering your amazing cast.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I've been to the New Filmmakers showcases, screenings, more than any other festival or screening series, and I always recommend New Filmmakers because of not only the quality of the films, of course, but the quality of the people who attend to watch and engage, who are part of the board, who are members, or maybe who are just pulled in from fellow filmmakers who are showing a film. The quality of the people there and the conversation is always really supportive and really great. I feel like I meet more people who are really honestly giving it a go and doing really well, and I see those people when I return to these festivals, and I wasn't getting that with our first film, 5 years ago, we were doing the festival rounds. I didn't get a sense of that as much as I get it here.
Wow.
And so, I return time and time again, been to several, but, my now wife Annette was actually doing a collaboration with New Filmmakers to celebrate Latino filmmakers in a film showcase. And I was just in attendance that night, but I had met Camille Guadi, who was emceeing. I just thought she was lovely and great, and we struck up a conversation, and really with no agenda, but just to say, I like what you did tonight, and tell me more about you. And we tried to get together probably for the next 18 months, and finally we did, and she had seen another project that I had just been released with Nylon Magazine, and she loved it and wanted to work with me. And in the back of my mind, I had this idea of this girl who is stuck in LA, and I told her about it, no script, and she loved it. And I said, look, I just did a play, and if we're going to do this, we're going to do it on our own, on our own dime, and we're going to do it in our own way, without any pressures of a schedule. And I really want to rehearse. I want to make that part of the process for this film. And she, working a lot in television, loved that idea because it's a luxury that you rarely get, but especially in TV, that's not much of an opportunity. And it just started from there. But we then screening last night at New Filmmakers, it was such a full circle moment. It was really great.
Really, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how did you bring about some of the other cast members?
So I knew we needed a really special Jess to play opposite Camille, and it was just, I was auditioning, kind of inviting people to audition, the actors that I had known or that I've been working with, and she said, I teach an acting class with this girl, her name's Remy Nozick, and I'm kind of in love with her acting, and if you're open to it, I'd love to approach her about talking to you about this role. And so that was the introduction to Remy. And of course I thought she was great, and she was very into the idea of rehearsing, and
their relationship together was perfect.
I loved the dynamic between the two of them in real life, which I knew and saw, and they liked each other and had a respect for each other, but they weren't very close as friends.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a perfect starting point for two girls who maybe grew up on the same street but were never very close.
Yeah.
Who now, after a big jump in time, have reunited and realized they don't really know each other.
Yeah.
And yet they have this history.
Yeah. Really interesting.
Solomon Shiv plays Phyllis, who's one of my favorite characters of all time.
Oh, brilliant. He needs his own series.
I know, it's a spin-off. It's just called Phyllis.
Really.
But Solomon, I had met, a friend of mine had arranged a table read for a script that I had written, and he was one of the actors who came that night, and we instantly bonded, and since had done a few projects, and there was one particular project, a web series I did, that every episode, they were very short, 60, 90-second episodes, but the camera was set up in a public restroom, pointing underneath of the stall. And so someone would walk in, enter the stall, sit down, and literally drop trowel. And you don't see it. You just, we're kind of like knees down. And this anonymous actor would then proceed to just tell a story or confess something. They're all different. So I'd written these monologues, and one of them was for who I imagined in my mind to be a late 50s, middle America woman kind of quiet woman named Phyllis. And I sent all the monologues to the actors who were going to be in them, and Solomon wrote me and he said, "Oh my God, I have to be Phyllis."
I love it.
Which is so not what I imagined, but I love that. And I said, "Okay, but you're still Phyllis. I'm not changing the name, and we have to figure out who Phyllis is with you in that role." And he came in to shoot that, and I didn't even know it till I saw, but he's wearing these loafers, these old loafers, men's loafers. And he goes and he sits, and he takes the loafers off, one at a time, and then he puts his feet on top of the loafers, and he's painted his toenails.
Love it.
And it became this like odd private ceremony of someone who, this is who they really are, and they just take this moment when they're using the restroom to just relish and be that person, even just for a moment. I loved it.
You just such an important part to that film and the dynamic of their relationships. It was so special to watch. I can't even describe it. I've never seen a character like Phyllis before.
Same.
And thank you for creating it. And so it was just beautiful to watch. And I think, living in Los Angeles, where we just have the most amazing, diverse, incredible people, and probably the most, acceptable group of people as well. Like, wherever you are, wherever you're from, whoever you are, however you lead your life, we love and accept you. And I think it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful testament to Los Angeles as well. Now listen, I'm amazed. I can't get my head around this. So, a lot of filmmakers come in and they're like, I don't know if I could do this, and you kind of done the impossible with this film, okay? He revealed to a very shocked audience last night that, because I've never actually noticed, I think this is kind of a record, but you made this feature film in 8 days.
That's right.
Like, not to mention you had 2 very epic scenes that involved a club and obviously a big party scene, which is very hard to do independent filming, and had lots of interior, lots of exterior. How the hell did you do it, and was there any challenges?
There were certainly challenges, but I think, it was in a point, I was working on another film. There was another producer involved in that, Bruce Dixon, who came on to this project to produce it and executive produce it with his wife and with us. And we were working on this other project, and in the meantime, which was a feature, I felt how impossible it is, or how impossible it can seem to actually make a feature film, and how inaccessible it is. We can pick up a camera and go make a short film, but to do a feature, it totally changes the dynamic. It changes the ambition of what that project is. And so I just, having the idea of this story that Annette had really pushed with this layover story, I started to think, that is a very contained setup for a film that if you were to do it on a very low budget, would at least be more on the doable end of the spectrum. And I think what made it click for me was just thinking, well, I'd done several short films that were single day shoot, and they were about 10 to 11 minutes in length. And I just thought, well, if I do that 8 times, now I've got a feature film.
There you go. I mean, geez, it's amazing.
So in looking at that script, and I had it outlined, but I started writing the script as I was rehearsing with the actors. So I was able to take a lot of that like character exploration work that we were doing, and also just getting to know them better in their own lives, incorporating that into their characters and into the script. And when I was writing the dialogue, it was much more natural to them and to the work that we were doing. But I just, I looked at trying to keep it to like 8 or 9 locations. And if I could do that, then I'd have my location a day. And there was the challenge, as you mentioned, there's a club scene. You need extras. It's a very different environment. The lighting and the setup for that, was going to kill your day. Also had one of these Lonely Hearts Club parties with friends celebrating their art, which were all our friends who had shared their art before. They came for that, but you know, your friends are great and they love and support you, but they don't want to come and be directed for 7 hours on a Saturday night. So
Yeah.
I really...
A lot of night shoots as well, obviously.
A lot of night shoots. But for that party scene, we brought in an extra camera. I told everybody, look, I'm not going to move you around and make you do things multiple times. We're going to treat this as a organized house party.
Yeah.
We're going to have drinks. You know, there's going to be performances, and we're only going to do one take. So better be good. and we did, and you know, there were a few moments I had the luxury of doing a few takes or changing up the coverage, but that just was kind of that was the approach to it and what it was going to be, and it gave those scenes their own life that you really would have had a hard time, I think, recreating painstakingly.
Just makes you want to be on Jason's set. Like, I don't know, you just kind of put people at ease, and that's such a great thing, especially if you're a performer. And then you've obviously got your team around you and that support mechanism as well. There's so many aspects of this film that, you know, I enjoyed so much. You know, from everything from, and I mentioned a bit this in the last night, but just how you know, there are certain times when the camera moves or it cuts to, but you just left us there. And you left us there, what I loved also, even in those painful moments, which painful for what's going on in the scene, you just left us there, like, oh God, you just left us here. Like, I'm really feeling this as well, you know? And that was really special to have, because I feel like sometimes we're so quick to just get into the next, or we cut away from things. You're like, no, give me more, no, I wanted to see, no, don't take me away from that moment, you know? And we want to be in that moment, which I love how you did that. And then something else that's, you know, especially very hard to do in independent film, is you had a fantastic soundtrack. You know, I don't think I felt this good about a soundtrack since Garden State. It was beautiful. Oh, yeah. And so how was that process for you? Because that was obviously a very important part to your film as well.
Well, the music was very important. I wanted to do a movie where the music was important. Mm-hmm. And I had even, once I was writing the script, had identified songs that I wanted for the film, and had a Spotify playlist, and you know, the actors were listening to it, and some of the crew were listening to it, and of course I was listening to it on repeat. Mm-hmm. And you know, I knew that there were moments where I wanted music and how important that was. And you know, Garden State is a great example and was an inspiration for me in terms of how soundtrack, because not just scoring, but just actual songs can work really well in a film to make it feel fresh and make it feel, kind of tie it into a time and a place. And also, we use music as a soundtrack for our lives when we're dealing with emotions, and you know, we want to get pumped up to go out. You know, when we're sad, you know, music is such a part of our lives that I think to do a movie, even though it feels very real, and we're very much, I wanted us to really be in real time with these characters. They're only together for 24 hours, and I want to, these moments that we're with them, I wanted to really feel like we were with them, and we had to just stop and experience it, even when it was uncomfortable, especially when it was uncomfortable. And you know, then when the music would come, it would be a little bit of a break from a heavy scene, but it would also just be us kind of putting on our own headphones and feeling a moment out with a song.
I think, you know, very much something you get taught, you know, in the acting world is being in the moment. And I think that's what you did for your audience, is about being in the moment and going out into the world and enjoying moments and appreciating moments that we're in. You know, I think that's something that we're all in our busy lives, and we don't, you know, sometimes we maybe not value the friendships as much, or we don't keep up relationships as much as we should. And I think it was beautiful how you did that. For you, as the filmmaker of this film, what did you want for your audience to feel, if there was anything, and what have you learned from making this film?
Well, in terms of, I think I just wanted to tell a story where the characters would feel real, and all of them had their own issues, but they were very guarded about it. And I think we are kind of that way in our lives now, that it seems to not feel like it's okay to say that you're feeling sad, or that you are feeling lonely, or that you are frustrated or stuck. It seems like, you know, we celebrate when people post about their successes, and we get awkward when people post about their misgivings.
Very important.
And I wanted to just you know, and the three characters in this film have a history to an extent, And so they're not starting from nothing in their relationship, but they're all dealing with some deep problem. And I just really am obsessed with what does it take, especially today, for a character, a human, a person, to be vulnerable, to let that guard down, and how beautiful it is when that happens, and how productive it can be when that happens. So I think that's the big takeaway that I was going for with this.
You did it for me, yeah.
Awesome. That makes it worth it. One person, it totally makes it worth it. And I feel like there was a second part of your question.
The second part is how do you like?
What have I learned from this?
What have you learned from this project?
Well, I kind of felt like I'd done a short film in a day, and that could be 10 minutes, and I thought, well, that's easy. I'll just do 8 of those. But telling a long form narrative is just a completely different process. It's a different animal, and every day. And I tell people this, in that 8 days, I learned more and grew more than I had in any 8-day period ever in my life.
Wow.
And the first day was really rough. We were behind, we didn't have it, that was the one day we didn't have a first AD. And it was an uncontrolled environment. It was at the airport. It wasn't the final airport scene, but we were at parking lot C. We were in the vicinity of the airport. And it wasn't locked down. And it just wasn't coming together the way I imagined it. And it was the first day, and it was an entirely new crew for me. And it was hard. And we got way behind. It was actually a scene I had to cut. And it worked out for the best in the end. But at the end of that day, as defeated as I was, I went to get a drink with the producers, and I just said, all right, we got to talk about today. And here's what didn't work, and give me feedback. And I took all that and I sucked it up, and I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I'm like, all right, here's what I need to do differently. And I have a first AD now, which is great, but I need to walk them through my day, start to finish, just me and the first AD. I need to then loop the DP in. I haven't talked enough about Oliver Fitzgerald, who shot this film. He and I spent several weeks together prepping the film, shot by shot, discussing the film theory behind it, compositionally, how it was going to work, knowing that it was going to be very run and gun, handheld, but just embracing that and trying to elevate the craft as much as we could with that. And we had 2 cameras some days, but he was always operating, and he was drenched in sweat constantly, and he worked his butt off.
Sounds like a filmmaker.
Oh my God. He really was in the trenches, and he fought hard, and I think it looks great because of him. And
well, it's lucky when you got that team,
Yeah.
And I think you're a great example of like any filmmaker out there that's like, how do I do this? And how do I make the impossible possible? And what do you do when day one has not gone the way you want? And how do you pick yourself up and pick an entire team up, cast and crew, and do it? And look, you made a beautiful film, and you kept going with it, and you didn't give up, and you did it against all odds. And I think that's such a great character as a filmmaker, and especially when you are in a position, it's your baby you wrote, you're directing it, you're keeping the whole team. Obviously, you and your wonderful wife, who produced it as well. It's a real kind of family element to bring everything together, and you did it, which is amazing. And it's a big congratulations to you for that. What is next for you, Jason?
I have a lot in the works,
Good.
but much more in the genre space. So I have a high concept horror, kind of artistic horror film that I would put in the kind of Lovecraft vibe.
Cool.
I have a slasher film.
It's still going on, right? Okay. Yeah.
So, and some other projects, but I'm really excited to kind of take the sensibility that I brought to Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah.
Maybe not purely in its entirety, but a lot of the sensibilities of living in moments, taking time for the right moments, and definitely, I did Lonely Hearts Club almost 3 years ago, and my style has evolved. It's grown. Especially my cinematic style has much more evolved, and I'm looking forward to combining a very cinematic aesthetic with a very performance, character, actor-driven element, in a horror film.
What I love, and we discussed this too, is that even though you made your film 3 years ago, the essence and the topic of your film is more relevant today than when you actually knew about when you made it. And so you have to see it for that reason. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you watch it. And that's obviously a sign of your premonition brilliance as a filmmaker. So, you know, I think that's really, really great. And I think everybody should sit down. It's kind of like a sit down, snuggle up to the sofa, watch a movie with your friends, or go and see it at a movie theater, because that's another way you can go and see it. But no, thank you for Lonely Hearts Club very much. Thank you for bringing those characters to us. And obviously, I'll be talking to you I'm just going to say, I'm looking forward to talking to you very soon, because I will, for his next project. Maybe it's a slasher movie this time.
Right.
Jason, everybody, thank you very much.
Thanks.